Or I mean, you can just watch the
Nah, that shit need to be on you. That shit need to be personally on your device, so that when I find out that it's personally on your device, I can sue you for copyright.
Well, come Monday, you can actually just download it from YouTube.
I would never sue you for copyright. Everything is for use, by the way.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't use anybody else's shit on here, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I don't
but
expect.
everything is for use. That's actually true. Like everything
Yeah,
is
yeah.
for use. You once you put it out in the public like that, you literally do not own it anymore, unless you copyright it, which costs money. But that's mainly just music.
So anyway, today, right? It's gonna be probably a longer episode. Definitely longer than what we've been doing. Um, our little 2 hour sessions because of the particular topic, which is going to be on relationships. And there are a lot of different types of relationships. And as I was working this out, I started to it started to kind of give me a headache, not gonna lie, because I was like, damn, um, this gets in depth, like
It
very in
does.
depth. So like starting off easy, right? Or easier. What what is a relationship essentially? It's some type of bond that you have with another person, whether it be a strong or a weak bond. And for humans, I mean, not even just for humans, but for living things, it's essential to have a relationship or have different types of relationships, right? Like flowers can't grow without the sun, so there's a relationship, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, a lot of the times we don't really understand what different kind of relationships we have with different people, whether it be strangers or family or whatever. But with strangers, right? Like you, on one of the other episodes, you talked about your the gas station near your house.
Alex's gas station encounter.
Right, like you. Well, not specifically that encounter, right? But like you go there fairly every day, give or take.
Yeah, 5 days a week
And so
at minimum.
you have somewhat of a relationship with the people that work there, right? Or the
Yeah,
other regulars that go there.
yeah, I love those people.
And those are the kind of relationships that we're going to start out with. We're going to work our way into the deeper, more difficult ones to talk about, but things like that, right? Like we wake up every day and we talk to different people, we interact with different people. Whether it be good or bad interactions is neither here nor there, but you still have to maintain some type of connection with those people, right? Because like you go up in that gas station and you don't really know those people. You don't go hang out with them. I mean, at least
No,
I
no,
don't think you do. But
no,
if you was to go over
no.
there and you were on some bullshit because of whatever reason, that'd be all right. But for whatever reason, right, you go up in there on some bullshit, then you're probably gonna get kicked out. You're probably not gonna be
Right.
invited back.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if I go in there, yeah, on some, I mean, complete bullshit, like she'd probably kick me out. Actually, I know she would. The person that I see the most definitely would. It's her store.
Yeah.
She doesn't own it, but she's the highest person there. You know, she runs it.
But like, I don't know. It's interesting to me to think, right? Like, because the reason why you go there is for a service, but
Yeah.
you're still gonna interact with them somehow, in some way.
Yeah.
So why why are you interacting in a civil manner, right? Like it's because you need a service done.
Yeah.
You need to either get something from the store or whatever. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that's what kind of relationships are about, is they're give and take, whether we want to think about it or not. Like a pet, for example. You get a pet typically for emotional support or to have someone around, to feel responsible for something. And yes, they're kind of forced into it, but they they rely on you. They depend on you.
Yeah.
So
They learn to love you. So
yeah, and they're so both parties are getting something out of it, right? So a relationship is exactly that. It's give and take, whether it be a stranger or something more than that. And with strangers, right, it's weird because you can break that connection at any time you want. You're not forced to talk to some random guy on the bus. You know, you're eventually both going to get off at your different stops and it's going to be over, and you might not ever see that person again. So I mean, it may not be a strong relationship, strong bond, but it's something. At the very least, it's something. But moving on more to things that we deal with on a daily basis, right? Friendships and acquaintances, stuff like that. People that we deal with fairly regularly.
coworkers.
Coworkers are another good example, right? Or even like
Yeah.
in reference to work partnerships.
Right.
You know, you're having
Which I don't know. I would say you could separate coworkers, kind of separate coworkers from like friendships and stuff like that, because you don't have to like the person, you just have to work with them.
exactly, yeah. You can. It's an option to be a friend. Sometimes it's not an option to be a coworker. Give me a second.
Actually, I don't think I have a coworker that I don't like. Everybody I work with is pretty chill.
I've met some coworkers that I didn't like.
I mean, I've met a lot of coworkers that I didn't like, but where I'm at currently, but it's also a lot of older guys in the in my line of work. So they've all hit that point where they just like, I don't even care that you're young. I don't even care what you do outside of work. Just do your job, and I won't have a problem with you. Don't give me a problem, and I won't have a problem. You know, it's like an equal understanding. It's just like
You figure out how
they
to
don't.
make
They
it
just
work
yeah, like
whether you
they
like it
don't.
or not.
And with them being older, they're not there for friends. Neither am I, but they're not there for friends. They're there to, take care of their families and make money and live.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not to say, right, that that couldn't build into a friendship where you guys, go hang out after work or do
Oh yeah,
whatever. Actually get to know each other on, uh, a deeper level than just being coworkers. Sometimes it's mainly just because you're bored and you're
actually,
like,
there's
this person's cool.
a lot of the guys at my job. They go out every Friday. There's like a bar down the street or whatever they go to every Friday after work. They go hang out for a couple hours.
That's cool.
It's like three or four of them, but when you take into account how many texts we have, that's like half of them.
Mm-hmm. It's literally just to blow off steam, talk bullshit about work. Probably not, but
I don't think they talk about work, but
they probably don't.
they probably don't. But some of the people that go have known each other for a long time, but also some of them been working there a long time.
Yeah,
But some of them knew each other before they even started working there, and they just both been there almost equally as long.
that was bugging me, not being centered. But right, the point being, you need those kinds of like easy sort of companions, those those interactions daily that don't necessarily have to be super deep, right?
Right.
A good example of a healthy one, right? A healthy friendship would be those the coworkers that go hang out, right? Like they have something in common. They go express that to each other, and then they go hang out. They talk about whatever, and sort of build their relationship on those kind of building blocks that they already have set.
Right.
A good example of a bad or unhealthy relationship, I think, is when me and you live together and this particular other person also lived with us who was a complete shitbag.
Yeah.
And
Which, uh, side note, from what I've seen now, he is doing a lot better for himself. But
I've heard the same. But
you know,
yeah, at the time it was like this guy was
yeah.
he's just very young. Make
I mean, we all
college.
were. We were all 18, 19, 20. You know.
Didn't really have any responsibilities, just kind of living life and doing whatever. Didn't really know when to say no or when to stop.
I mean, let's be honest. We were doing things I don't want to say shouldn't be doing, but we weren't doing the right things,
We knew what the right things were.
and
We
we
chose
weren't
not to
doing
do them.
those. We weren't doing those. We were all being little dirtbags. But yeah, that guy specifically was probably. I mean, we enjoyed his company. We had a good time hanging out with him.
Oh,
It's not that he was
definitely.
a bad person. He just definitely needed to work on himself.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Just for the record, we're not trying to talk shit about this guy, but yeah, he was just in a spot in his life, much like we both have been, in which he needed to learn how to navigate the world and how to deal with other people in a more unselfish manner.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Oh yeah. Well, it was definitely about. I mean, looking at it now, I think it was definitely more that he cared more about himself and just having a good time than others.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sure, there was some times where we all probably looked at each other was like, "You good, bro?" But like, that's it's kind of an easy thing to do is just ask somebody, "Are you good?" and not really care.
Yeah,
And I don't want to say that he didn't care. It just,
it was perceived to be that way, right? Like it. That's the feeling that he gave a lot of people, and I mean, I've to throw my own self under the bus. I've done the same thing. Like a lot of friendships, specifically friendships, I've taken a lot more than I've given. Most of the time, it was times in which I needed advice or I needed somebody to be there, and then when the roles were reversed, it was not I wasn't there. I was absent or I made excuses,
yeah.
and it was just
Which I don't feel that we have to each other. I don't think we've ever been like that. I mean, if you have, then it's Well, it also I don't want to say you have or you haven't, but our early relationship was not the way it is now, and I also wasn't opening up to you like the way that I do now. So,
yeah. It's
but that
funny
was
because
also younger versions of ourselves, so we were
I
different
actually
people.
I actually told someone yesterday about how me and you had met, and because we had never talked about it before. And when you talk about your friends or the people that you really care about, you try to, or at least the way that I do it, I try to build them up in my mind, and when I explain them to people. Um, but when I told this story, I was like, no, this is just how it is, right? Like this is how we met. This is who we met through. This is what we were doing. Shit
Yeah.
like that. It was nothing but the truth. And to this person that I was talking to, because we were going back and forth on best friends and stuff like that, and it was weird to, or not really weird, but it was interesting to see the contrast between the way this other person had met their best friend because it was almost completely different. And it just kind of shows you that, people coming in and out of your life, you choose who stays and who goes.
Right.
And even if you don't make a choice, you still have made a choice, right? Like that's still a choice to not do anything or to not build upon it.
And I have bit of a funny moment here. I have jokingly told this man. We had a nice little conversation one day. I don't remember what it was about, what started it, whatever. But I jokingly told. Actually, no, I do remember. It was the paper that you actually wrote about me in college that you were telling me about.
Yeah.
And actually, if nobody has ever like came to you and told you like, hey, I wrote something about you or made a song about you or whatever it is, bro, the feeling that you get hearing your friend or your loved one, whatever, tell you that they did something, wrote something, whatever about you without even saying like, hey, I'm gonna do this for you or about you, and then just finding out later that they also aced that fucking paper.
I did.
Is a crazy feeling, bro. When he told me this, I was like, holy shit, like this man actually cares about me. But needless to say, he told me about it, how he started it, and like a little bit about what he wrote. And I jokingly looked at him and I was like, yeah, that's because I got you under my wing. You ain't going nowhere now, baby.
I do remember you saying that.
But that's like a good example of like a healthy relationship though, like
Yeah.
I at that point I already knew he was in college. He hit me up and he was like, so I did a paper and they were like, they gave me all these topics. He was like, so I wrote it about you. And I was like, what? Like at first I was kind of like taken off guard. Like I almost felt like I should be worried, even though I know he's not going to say nothing bad about me to anybody else. He'll say it to my face. But yeah, when he told me about it, I was like, dang, that actually like, it just shows how like the relationship that we have. And how much it means to him specifically in that case, to have somebody in his life that he cares that much about, that he just randomly was like, man, this is what I'm gonna write about.
Yeah.
And wasn't it like it was like a few pages, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was like 3 or 4 pages. And I don't remember exactly what the assignment was. I want to say it had something to do with friendships, relationships,
I
or maybe people you look up to. I can't quite remember.
I've for some reason I kind of remember you said like the few topics were like you could write about this or that, or I think I remember you saying the word heroes, like heroes, which I was like, I am not your hero, bro. And if I am, then thank you, but I don't know why. But you were like, I think I remember you saying you went to your like, I don't want to write about any of these. Can I just write about the person that I like care about the most right now?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's what went down, and she just let you do it.
Yeah, it was a while ago, so I can't, like I said, I can't quite
Oh,
remember.
dude, it's been what, like 3 or 4 years? Longer than that?
To about 3 years.
I wasn't married yet, I don't think. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's been about 3 years because
But I was living here, so it couldn't have been before 2019.
no, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
But I think what it was is like I had this idea in mind because me and Alex hung up, we hung out a lot. We talked a lot about a lot of different shit,
A lot of sleepless nights.
definitely. And it was the easiest thing for me to, or I don't want to say it was the easiest because it wasn't really easy, but it was the most fresh thing in my mind to be like, oh, well, I know a lot about him. I can do this. I can say that, whatever. And so it sort of kind of just came natural to be like, okay, we'll do this. I still have that paper somewhere with me. I don't remember where it's at, but
I would love to read that because I have not read it.
I never showed it to you.
Nope, you never showed it to me. But I've also never really asked, you know? Like, you told me you wrote it, and I was like, oh yeah, like, give me a little, a little debrief on it. And you, like, you know, you kind of told me how you, like, started it out and how you ended it out and, like, what it led into. But yeah, I've never actually, like, word for word seen or read, heard the paper.
I'll find it and I'll screenshot it or something and I'll send it to you. But yeah, right. Great example of a more healthy relationship, or at least a good building block for what a relationship should be, right? Like at the
A healthy
time,
one.
yeah, at the time he was he was there. He was. I mean, you've been one of my best friends for. Actually, no, you've been my best friend for like nine
Hold on.
years now. Almost 10 years.
10, almost 11. I think it was like 17 when we met. So like 10.
Yeah,
We'll just call it 10.
no, that's right. Yeah, because about a year later, my daughter was born.
We'll just round it up and say a lifetime. It feels like it, dude. It really
It does, man. Yeah, it
it
does.
feels like there has never been a moment where I haven't known this person. Like it
And that's the weird thing too, is because not only have we lived together, right? So we have that. We've had a like, what's the word? Cohabitation. That's not the word. We've been roommates, right? So we've had that aspect of our relationship. We've worked together.
yeah.
So there's that. We've seen each other at the best and the worst, and then
Oh
we've had
yeah.
to live with each other regardless of whether it was a good day or bad day.
Right. And not only that, but like now it's to the point where like, with what you do for work, like when you do come home to visit, like when you came down to visit for the week or for the month, he was like, I don't know where I'm gonna stay. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know where you're gonna stay, bro? It's like, I guess I'm gonna have to get a hotel. And I was like, nah, bullshit, you're getting a hotel. Why would you spend money for that, bro? I have a house. Like, I don't have like a bed or a room for you, but the couch, bro. And that couch is comfortable, bro.
As far as
I've slept on
friendships
that
go,
couch so
man,
many
fucking
times.
definitely you should strive to have someone that
Yeah, like that.
that always is gonna have your back, right? They're gonna fucking
Right.
they'll fight for you out in public, and then when you get behind closed doors, they'll fight you because you were wrong.
Right.
But
Hmm.
that's and I could say the same about a partner too, right? Like not necessarily to say you have to agree with everything that they do or say, but someone who's gonna to the public is gonna show you and the rest of the world like, okay, we're united front, and then
Right.
and then behind closed doors deal with your bullshit, deal with whatever you got to deal with. Um, that way, people who want to see you split apart don't feed off of that. Like you're not out in public arguing, and you're not out
Yeah. Right.
doing all this dumb shit.
I mean, I'd rather us both be wrong in public to anybody else's eyes, whether we think we're right or wrong, and then go home and tell you, hey, bro, like what you did was fucked up, but I got your back. Like,
Yeah,
now, I mean, to an
yeah,
extent,
to an
right?
extent, right? Like it's not
To
a
an extent, like, like another like an example of that rather is I was going to a show that I went with my buddy Charles and my brother, and it was like a little 2 hour drive, so it wasn't like too far. But the state we were going to, the uh, the nicotine, the cigarettes, all that is a lot more expensive. So we hit the smoke shop down the street from my house, got what we needed, went and picked up my brother. But when I was pulling out of the parking lot, this guy was pulling in with an attitude, almost hit my wife's car that I was driving at the time because she has the better car. And I rolled down the window, started talking shit as normal because you just got out the car and started cussing me out, bro. I don't know what your problem is, but it can be my problem. which is a bad way to look at it. Don't get me wrong, but you almost hit my wife's car, so like I really don't feel bad for you right now. And my buddy Charles is sitting in the car, and I was probably in the wrong for even saying anything. I should have just let it go, but that's neither here nor there. But my buddy Charles is looking at me like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Bro, almost hit my car. Like, what the hell?" And he was like, "Oh yeah," and just instantly started cussing this dude out too. Like, had my back, straight up had my back, and that's like, that's a good example of like what we're talking about of like being out in a public situation and like your boy having your back. Which again, I was neither here nor there. Was I in the right or wrong? But
Yeah, but
you know,
Charles had no hesitation to just be like, "Oh yeah, fuck that
yeah,
guy." Like,
yeah. Which what after the fact of, and you know how Charles is. He's a bit of an airhead. He's not. I don't want to say he's like slow or nothing. Like he's not like on the spectrum or nothing. But he's not all the way there sometimes, and sometimes he's just not paying attention. Like the man works third shift, bro. Anybody that works third shift knows like the way you act during the daytime, you're just like, holy crap, like nothing
yeah,
is real right now because you're up all night and you sleep all day.
and you
So
come
like
back
this
home
whole
every
time,
day, and you're dreamland. That's what
yeah.
everything is.
So this whole time that I had like started backing out of the parking lot, I like stopped like halfway backing out and was like cussing this dude out, and he's looking at me like, "What's going on? Like, what even happened?" And I'm like, "Bro, you didn't see none of that." And then he was finally like, "Oh, okay, that's all I needed to hear. Fuck you too, bro."
That's funny. I miss
Just
Charles.
for us to, yeah, just he actually was talking to me this morning, but just for us to get like, like 5-10 minutes down the road, about to get on the highway or whatever, and me to go, you know what, I was a little fucked up. Like he could have been having a bad day, but like at the same time, bro, you were in a company vehicle, company uniform on. Like I could have done much worse than just cussing you out in the parking lot, and I didn't because you probably were having a bad day. So I just let it go. But also, you almost hit my wife's car, so that's why I lashed out.
Yeah, which I mean, it's fairly reasonable, right? It's not like you put hands on him or anything.
No, as much as he wanted me to, I wasn't gonna get out of my car because if I'm not, never mind, no comment.
Next topic, right?
Those who know. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so friendships, right? They're easy to navigate when you think about them, but then when you're actually in them, sometimes it's hard. It gets difficult. There's been times where me and Alex have been not really we haven't really argued like that, but um but
Yeah.
we've just had this unspoken like, all right, we just need to stop talking for a couple days, you know?
Yeah, and I think honestly, like the arguments we do have is like the petty shit, bro.
It's bullshit. It's all
Like
bullshit.
for instance, like with the Discord.
Yeah.
Let's just say it with the Discord, right? And this just goes to show that it's like it's never 100% healthy. There's always going to be a bump in the road, bro. But like
Yeah.
with the Discord, he was like, "How do you do this? How do you do that?" And I was like, "Bruh, you should have just let me do it." He's like, "No, bro, I'm not gonna learn if you don't let me do it." And I'm like, "Dang, bro, like, all right, fine, I'll show you." Like,
This is coming from a man who said, "I'm not trying to do all of this again."
I'm not. I didn't want to, but like,
But he also didn't want to tell me either. So,
because some of it, bro, some of it is just it's easier to show you than to tell you.
yeah.
And when it's like when I know how to do it and I'm trying to tell you how to do it and you're just like, bro, where, like, how? It's still not doing it. I'm to the point now where I'm just like, bro, just let me do it. Pass me the ownership and let me do it. I'll fix it and pass it back, bro. Like,
But yeah, like you said, not all relationships are always going to be. There's no such thing as
it's perfect.
sunshine and rainbows every day. It's
Nah.
not supposed to be. It's it's not like it's not a Disney movie. Life isn't a movie. And
I'd I'd like to say that sometimes I wouldn't say you need to like argue, but like you definitely you need those moments where like with the Discord, like where it's like you're trying to do something or say something or you feel some type of way, and then you say something and the other person get a little upset, and then you're like kind of back and forth for a while. Like you kind of need those because if I was really messed up about something and I just never told him, he would just continue to do it, and I would just forever be messed up about it until it just got to the point where I just didn't want to be that person's friend anymore or something, you know? It's
That's a
like you kind of need those moments to like hash it out and say like, hey, you know, like this is I don't really like that.
yeah. That's a. I'm actually glad you brought that up because
Which that goes back to episode 2 communication. But I mean,
yeah,
still you need those. You need those to make those healthy relationships continue to be a healthy relationship.
exactly. Like definitely being able to express how you feel about what the other person does. Um, I mean, it'll do wonders not just for your own life, but for whatever life, whatever place that you intend this other person to be in your life. Um, it makes it so much easier when you can be a little vulnerable. You know,
Right.
you can you can let down a wall, and
Which it is okay to be a little vulnerable. I'm not saying you got to do it to everybody. If it's somebody that you like care that much about, it's I mean it's a two-way street, you know, like if you feel that if you let that little bit of that wall down and you know, you let that little piece out, you know, depending on how they react can it's like I don't want to say like a big determination, but can be a determination of how that person feels about y'all's relationship, you know.
it can definitely show you how invested they are in continuing
Right.
the relationship, whatever that may be. And these particular things can apply to all relationships, not just friendships or partnerships or whatever. Um,
Right.
the moment you bring it, because this is one thing that I've always believed, and then it wasn't until the past like 5-ish years, whatever, that I started to kind of really live it. But the moment things get hard is when you start to realize who you are and who the people are around you,
Mhm.
right? Because everybody wants to be around someone when their life is easy. That's that's it's easy,
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy.
But the moment your life starts getting hard, or the moment that things aren't necessarily going your way, that's when you find out who your friends are. That's when you find out who's willing to stay and stick beside you.
Mhm.
And I mean, like you said, it speaks volumes to a person who can watch you go through whatever and struggle with whatever, and then still be like, I'm still here.
Right.
I'm gonna be here. Like, that shit doesn't scare me,
Yeah. Well,
you
it's,
know?
I mean, it's also kind of like the worst thing to do is, you know,
Is
dip
to
out when,
kick somebody when they're down, yeah.
right, you know, like, oh, you're going through a hard time, don't talk to me. Like, no, that's just fucked up.
There's a particular instance where okay, so what I'm thinking about, I'm not going to share, but I am going to share something about myself, right? Um, if this person's listening, they'll understand why I'm not going to share what I'm going to share. But there was an instance in my life, and I did share it through the Discord, where yeah, I was down, and I wasn't out, but I was down, and um, I started to realize who was really there for me, because when it gets easy, right? When it's easy, and you can give things to people, whether it be your time or your energy, whatever. When you can do that, everybody wants to be around you. You want to be that person that everybody's like, oh, let's go hang out with them. Let's go do this, because it's always a fun time.
Yeah.
But then one day when you go to dinner and somebody brings up a conversation of, suicide or death in the family or shit like that, the more uncomfortable things, and people start to leave, maybe not literally but figuratively, they start to tune out. That's a good warning sign as to who you should keep in your life. You should always keep your circle tight and small. And I say that because the more people you let in, the harder it is to determine who's going to be there for you or not. You know,
Hmm.
you can be on your, like on your edge, like almost at your breaking point, and go through your how many people can go through their contacts right now and say I can call this person, and they'll do whatever they can. Not maybe not necessarily do whatever I want them to, but they'll do whatever they can. And
I got about 3 people, about 4 people.
I heard about 3 or 4 people too
Oh yeah,
that I can call at any given time, and they might not answer on the first time, but they'll be like, "Hey, what's up?" You
and
know.
that's not saying that like some of the people in my contacts that are my friends aren't friends that wouldn't. It's just not the friends that I would go to first.
Right.
You know?
I mean, you're always gonna have your go-tos, but then
Right.
if they can't be there, you'll have your secondary and tertiary backups.
Yeah. But I mean, so, that's kind of how like friendships are. Like you've got those ones where it's like, like oh, I'm having a good week. I'm having a good day. Like it's the person I want to hang out with, and I don't want any, you know, bad times. But like it's a two-way street. Like they never really come to me with problems, and that's fine. They don't have to. They have their person, or they don't have nobody at all, and that's on them. But like I mean, it's like I said, bro. It's a two-way street.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean like if they're not sharing anything with you when they are having bad times that it's a bad relationship or an unhealthy relationship. It
Yeah,
just it just means that you're not their go-to person, and that's fine.
and that's one thing I was about to say. Right? Is it's it's okay to have friends that you don't share your problems with. It's okay to have
Yeah,
friends that you just want to go out and you have a good time with. Right? Like that. That's that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah. Those could be your friends that you use for your. I don't say you're using your friends like that, but those are the friends you go to as your escape from whatever, or maybe you're not even having a. You just like their company and the
Hmm.
good time that they provide.
I will say, like I said at the beginning, right? Like relationships, they're give and take. You use those relationships, right? But it's the difference between using and abusing.
Right.
That's what really kind of determines
Separates it.
whether or not you or them are really just genuine human beings. Because using the friendship, right? That's the point of it. That's kind of the point. You have somebody to go to. You have somebody to, whether it be good or bad, to hang out with. Um, and then abusing it. A good example of that would be like, and I've seen multiple people do it. I was even at a point in my life I did it too. I had family that I would call upon to help me out, but I never returned the favor.
Right.
I never even had intentions of returning the favor,
Exactly.
and that is, I mean,
It's
prime
fucked up,
form of
but
abuse. I mean,
right.
it is, yeah. When you only go after something because you want it, not because you you want it, but you're willing to return the favor. You're willing to
Right.
give back whatever you get.
I would say in a way that's kind of like you want it to be maybe not necessarily, but like just from like an outside looking in, like a third person point of view, you want it to be about you, not about them, because you only care about you and not about them,
Yeah,
which is a bad relationship.
and sometimes to kind of add on to that, sometimes it's hard to get out of that selfish kind of viewpoint.
Right.
Sometimes people don't even understand that they're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I was saying like from a third person point of view.
Yeah, and part of it too is like any relationship that you have with anybody or anything, you have to be very self-aware. I think that's very important, um, because
I
if
mean,
you don't
that's
know
like
what you're doing or why you're doing it, right? Like you don't know how this is gonna affect them.
right. I would say that's like the biggest. like that's the biggest like first step is, that self-awareness,
And
which is, I mean,
you don't have to deep dive into yourself to see simple things.
right, which I mean, again, that can, like you said, can be a hard thing to see. You might not even know you're doing it, you know.
But
I
some
mean,
things
like,
are
and
just go ahead.
I was gonna say also like old habits die hard. So like if
That's
you're
true.
always doing that, you've always done that, or like even like you've always seen that in the people that you grew up with, like your family or whatever, like those things kind of stick, and then you just kind of think, oh well, it must just be the way that it is, you know?
You think it's okay because you grew up with it and you've been
Right,
around it so long.
right,
That's a that's definitely a topic we should probably cover is breaking those generational curses.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen
oh yeah,
I've seen a handful of different things about those that could be interesting to talk about.
yeah. And without diving deep into that, I would say that's probably one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely can be. I mean,
For me, it took a lot of broken friendships, a lot of broken, intimate relationships to really start to
which,
look inward.
right. With that being said, I may have fibbed a little bit in our topics there. Um, because I said, like straight off the dome about just like a quick think or a quick glance at what you had to talk about today, that I didn't really like couldn't think of anything, but I definitely could. And I don't know, I felt like I didn't want to talk about it, but I think I need to. And I mean, I've talked to her about it, so it's, it is what it is now. But and you've seen it because you live with us. The relationship that I had with my mother growing up, I wouldn't say it was unhealthy, but it was definitely like, I don't know what it's like to be a parent, that's for sure, especially a teenage boy as your child. But I can look back at it now and tell that it was not easy for my mom, especially being a single mother of two boys. Both at that time, the most of the time that I'm thinking of is me being in my teenage years, where you start to rebel and do stupid shit, things you're not supposed to. Like I said, like we both said, when he was living with me, we were not doing the things we were supposed to be doing. But it was a bit of an unhealthy relationship because, a little bit before I met you, I wouldn't say I wasn't necessarily like listening to my mom, but I was definitely doing things that she didn't want me to do. I wouldn't say it was like it was so bad that she would like disown me or nothing, because as a parent, that's just something you should never do. That's a terrible thing. But there's definitely things that she didn't really approve of, didn't like, until I got older, and she was just like, you know what, like you're almost an adult now, do it. But yeah, there was a lot of arguments. There was a lot of like, well, I'm the parent kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, I love that woman to death because the way she raised me is the way I see it. Again, is just, I never really seen how you were raised or how any of y'all were raised, but the way my mother raised me was, you're your own person. You believe what you want to believe in. You do the things that you want to do. Like make the mistakes, fuck up. Just be a decent person. Like my mom just let me make my own choices, especially once I got into my teenage years. Like when I was like 16, 17, that was when she was like, you know what? Like you're basically an adult. Like you do you. You know what I'm saying? Like you take care of yourself. Like I'm here if you need me, kind of deal. I'll still be your parent, but yeah, there was a lot of arguments, a lot of screaming and yelling, a lot of bad communication. And the funny thing is, when I moved out, I never even, it wasn't that I didn't want to tell her. It was just like I just did it. It was kind of like a spur of the moment when I moved out. I kind of just packed all my shit up, walked downstairs, and was like, I'm moving out. She was like, all right, love you. You know. So that's kind of the relationship that we had, was just after a certain point of me being older. And I can tell you that now that I'm out of there, and I think a big part of it is just seeing each other every day and being how my mom, how much we are alike, for one,
Yeah.
is what is probably what makes the arguments the way that they were, you know? Because that, I mean, that also roots back to I'm doing something wrong, but I don't see it as wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm also doing these things because you're telling me to go do what I want. Like, to an extent, of course, to an extent, do what I want. But then you're getting mad about it. So like, that's where I start getting mad about it because now you're mad that I'm doing something you told me to do, you know, which was whatever I wanted. But like I said, now that we're out that I'm out of the house, and I don't talk to her all the time. I should probably call her more, but we're both busy with work and our own lives, our own personal lives, that is. But our relationship is way healthier now. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's always been somebody that I could go to, say like, "Hey, I'm having a hard time with this or whatever." But being a teenager, it was just I don't know. I guess it wasn't easy to do, or I just didn't want to do it. I don't know. But now that I'm almost 28 years old, if I'm having a bad day at work and I just want to talk to my mom because that's my comfort, to kind of hear a little bit of the things that I want to hear and some things that I don't want to say necessarily need to hear. It's just how she looks at it. It's good to have that third person perspective. I'll call her in a heartbeat and she'll always be there for me. So our relationship is a lot healthier now than it was, and I'm forever grateful about that. Like, and even through all the bad times, bro, I wouldn't trade it for the world. Again, you got to remember, my mom was a single mother. My 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 brother's dad died when he was really young, so that was automatic. You know, raising him by herself, which I don't want to dive deeper into that one. But with me, my father leaving when I was 3, and then just gonna say, oh, I'm not gonna be a father. That led her to raise 2 boys by herself. For the most part, I mean, my grandparents were there, had my uncles and stuff that all pitched in a little bit, but bottom line, it's her priority. It's her kids. She did everything she could, so I respect her for it. But yeah, there was definitely those hard times growing up. But I mean, I guess that's just how it is as a teenager. You just you hit that age at a teenager where you start rebelling, and I think that's like, I don't know, thinking about it, that's just kind of how I see it. Rather, is I would say that's kind of like the point of where you're like trying to break those generational curses, or maybe you're really diving deep into those generational curses.
Mm-hmm. You're getting stuck into them, or yeah, either you're trying to break them, or you're falling back into them. Maybe
Yeah,
not
well,
even
because
not even realizing it.
right, and I mean, you're also getting into that age where you start to understand it more.
Mm-hmm.
Whether whether you understand whether it's right or wrong is neither here nor there, but you understand all the things that they did or do,
Yeah,
and so now you're repeating them or you're not repeating them.
yeah. At the very least, you see the existence, right? You see that it's there. You see the. You might not see the issues, but you know that it exists, and
Right.
I could say the same thing um, about mine and my own mother's relationship, right? Like when I was young, you know, 15, 16, 17, like you said, it's the age where you start to rebel. You start to talk back. You start to think that you can do whatever you want and you own the world. And then, um, so yeah, me and my mom had a lot of arguments, a lot of ignoring each other for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just a lot of uh, it was bad communication, but it was also the lack thereof.
Right.
Like in some cases there was just no communication at all, and that is that can be more detrimental to a relationship than anything. Not just not saying anything. especially to certain people in your life, right? Because like if me and you were just to stop talking for 6 months, we could pick it right back up where it left
Right.
off. But we already have that baseline. We already have that, foundation. When you do it with a family member, it's like, well, now I don't even know you anymore.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like once again, I'm not a parent, but I just feel like as a parent, if you were to do that, it would just it's a lot different, you know.
Yeah, it is a lot different. The
It's a lot
dynamic
different.
is different.
Which you said something that made me think about exactly what my mom has said to somebody before. Because I had a friend whose mother was like, "I don't like the way you're raising your kid," and my mom was like, "What? You mean letting my child be their own person?" And that's what my mom did, was let me be my own person. You know,
Hmm.
you are you, not me. You know, and I think that's the biggest thing that I have heard her say a lot that made that quote unquote unhealthy relationship, for all the like arguments and stuff that we did have,
Hmm.
still be as healthy as it was. Because especially when I got older, and you've seen it while you were living there was times where we both got yelled at. We both were in trouble, bro.
Oh yeah, I was
There
I
were
was guilty by proxy, just by being right there.
yeah, and I mean there was the occasional times where we were both in the wrong. So she was like, "I'm talking to both of y'all. Y'all both fucked up. Y'all are both
Yeah.
fucking up." You know.
A big thing,
But
a big thing with your mom too, and I didn't realize, honestly didn't realize it until just now thinking about it. She was really big on accountability, even though she didn't really say it. But
mhm,
there would have been instances where, say, you did something that I could have prevented, or I could have been like, hey, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that, and so
right.
I got punished for that too. You know what I mean? Yeah, I was equally at fault, and I think that's one reason why it was a lot easier for me to build like a friendship with your mom too, is because one, yeah, she did have that more hands off approach, but
Mhm.
she did it in a much caring manner, right? She made the
Yeah.
choice to say, hey, I'm gonna let him do his thing. I'm not gonna intervene too much unless I have to, and then the moment that I have to, well, I mean, usually that's when like shit hits the fan, right? Like
Well,
that's
that was a big thing about her like practicing what she's preaching is, like I'm gonna let you be your own person, but when you're wrong, I'm gonna tell you you're wrong. You're not gonna like to hear it,
hmm
but and you've seen it, you've heard it, and actually, I don't remember exactly what we were getting yelled at for, but at this time, we had pretty much taken over the whole basement. I wasn't upstairs anymore.
Was this before or after the pool table? Probably
what a
after.
what a wild situation that was.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't remember actually, but I do remember she came down there and she was like, "All right, I'm tired of it. I'm saying this, I'm saying that." But throughout the whole thing, she's letting it all out and she's getting loud. She's mad and rightfully so. Whatever we were doing was at that time we weren't doing anything we were supposed to be doing. We weren't being fucking adults. We
I
weren't
I
acting
think I
we
remember what it
cared.
was about.
But but she looks at both of us and this is I don't I would like to think this was probably the moment where you were like, okay, this I'm gonna call this woman mom now. Like, yeah, we are brothers now. Uh, she looked at both of us and was like, "I love you both, but you're fucking up." And that's a big way that she would communicate. Like, yeah, she would be mad and you could tell it, and she wanted to be heard. You'd start talking, she'd be like, "No, shut up, I'm talking." That authority, you know.
Uh-huh.
But in the same sentence, the same argument is like, I still care about you. I just need to let you know that you're fucking up, and I guess this is the only way I can communicate it to
I think the particular instance you're talking about is right before we had both started working anywhere.
you. Yep.
And yeah, she was just kind of at her brim. And she was, her cup was way over full. And yeah,
Yeah.
she told us about ourselves. She
She
definitely
had
did
enough
that.
of it. Yeah.
And
And
I
rightfully
think
so.
maybe
Yeah.
like a week after that, we both had jobs.
Yeah.
I
And
think
I mean,
that's all
and
that it took.
Yeah, and like I said, rightfully so. Like the there is, I mean, I can't think of any offhand, but there's definitely been times where my mom has yelled at me and definitely been in the wrong, because she heard a part of the story that wasn't true or was told to her wrong, you know,
Yeah.
out of context or however you want to put it. But my mom is also the same person that, you know, you tell her, you tell her, hey, Steven was he was out back doing this and that, and it wasn't true. Let's just say it wasn't true, and then she goes up to you and she's like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And then find out that it wasn't true, and then come back and be like, I am so sorry.
Oh yeah.
Somebody told me that you were doing that. She is big on accountability, bro, like you said.
She's really big to admit when she's wrong, and
Yeah,
I respect the hell out of that.
yeah,
Because growing up, I didn't have that, right? Like my mom also took that hands off approach, but I think it was for a different reason. Um, I think my mom was just going through a lot, and so handling a teenage boy on top of my younger sister, my two younger sisters that were one was one and the other was uh
she's not much younger than me, so
yeah, she's not much, but yeah, she's a single mother of three kids, right? And me being the oldest, I think she kind of expected better.
right,
Maybe if she didn't voice it, maybe it was just an expectation of like, hey, you're the oldest, you should be doing the right thing, and that's the one thing that I wasn't doing. And there were a lot of times where she wasn't super involved in my life because of that, because I didn't let her, and it was thinking about it now, it's a lot of the same of what you had gone through. Like it was hard to live with my mom and to live with whatever significant other she had at the time.
hmm
But now that I'm grown, I've moved out. Uh, my relationship isn't the greatest. It could definitely be better.
right. But it's again, that's a two-way street,
Exactly, and
you know.
and that's not to say that I don't love my mom. I do. She's the person that gave me life. So,
Right.
but yeah, it's much easier to talk with her about daily things now, even though I know she may not necessarily understand them all. It's
Right.
just a lot easier to communicate now. Now that we don't
Right.
have that, okay, you're my son, I'm your mom. This is what you're going to do,
Right.
as opposed to we're both adults. Let's have a conversation. Eat
Right.
eat dinner, whatever we do.
hmm
So yeah, I mean, family is arguably one of the hardest types of relationships to manage because you don't get to pick your family.
Right.
You know,
And
you were you were born into a family, and you don't have a choice as to who they are or how they act.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, now you can choose your family, but when it comes to like your bloodline, you don't really have a choice in that.
Right, right, yeah.
But uh you made me think of two things. First off, that is like one of the biggest things that we differ from each other, Our biggest difference is my mom was always my mom was always there, whether she was doing it right or doing it wrong. And I don't really, neither one of us really see much of our childhood from each other before we had met, which was, we were almost adults at that point. But we've told each other practically everything. But like
Yeah.
you even just said it, your mom kind of took that hands off approach, and my mom definitely hands on. Like, there was still both that, like, I'm the parent, you're the child, from both of us, I would say, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But yeah, that's definitely the biggest thing of where we differ. And the other thing is that I've actually, I don't know if you have seen it this way, and I'm sure you have, because a lot better head on your shoulders than I do most times. But I definitely see that your mom, now that you are doing what you're doing and being a, you know, being your own adult, your own little family, your mom is definitely showing up more, you know. And I actually, you talking about it, I didn't even really realize it until you were talking about it. It's like when we all drove out there to visit you out in Missouri. You know, I was actually really surprised to see your mother make it, and I'm really happy about that. Like that she showed up for you
Oh yeah, she
because from
she
what I've seen, go ahead.
she definitely, as you know, as me becoming an adult, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it right. Like I didn't become an adult until I had kids.
Yeah,
That was the transition for me, and I didn't have kids until I was 21. So it just goes to show you, you can grow up. Age doesn't determine whether or not you become a man or a woman, right? Like that's
right.
not
An
that's not
adult.
how it works. But what yeah, once I became an adult and I started to realize sort of the power that I had and the responsibilities that I had, and she noticed that. I think that's when she was like, okay, I need to be there for him now more than ever.
Right.
And
And I think a big part of that too, her seeing that uh is the fact that you took that huge initiative of being like, I'm 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 fucking here. I want a relationship with
yeah,
whatever we had in the past is in the past, you know.
yeah,
And that's you know, that's not saying that you never tried as far as I know, but I mean there was definitely like when we lived together, there was definitely times where like I could tell you couldn't really care less whether you were talking to her or not. But we were also just young and dumb at that time doing stupid shit we weren't supposed to be doing. But yeah, I definitely see it now where you know, you take that big initiative and be like, "Mom, I would like a mom to be my mom, whether it's you're here for me or not, at least a relationship."
hmm and I mean, what sucks is it's very unfortunate sometimes that it has to happen that way. Kids grow up
Yeah.
with parents that aren't necessarily there, whether it be physically or mentally for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sometimes that's just how it is. It's just how it
Mm-hmm.
works out, and like I said, it sucks, and it's horrible. It's horrible for a kid to go through that,
Oh yeah.
to experience life and have a person there with a title, but don't
Not doing the job description.
exactly right.
Or at
They
least not
they
doing most of it, you know, like doing the minimum of the job description, you know.
yeah, and
Because I mean, of course, your mom was, you know, doing her doing something to at least try to take care of y'all, you know.
oh yeah, she took care of us the best way she knew how,
Right.
and it wasn't until um, we had a passing in the family that was very near and dear to us, all of us, that we started to become unraveled a little more.
Yeah.
And that's when we all kind of went our separate ways to try to cope with our pain the best way we could. When in reality, what we should have done is we should have came together and helped each other.
Right.
Um, so I mean, that's definitely a lesson that I learned growing up. That being being in a family, even though you don't get to choose them, and even though you may not like them, um, they're they're a solid support system. 9 times out of 10, they're not
Right.
going to tell you what you want to hear most of the time. They're going to tell you what you need to hear if they give a fuck about you.
Right.
And depending on the relationship, right? Like you you have someone to always go to. Like I know cousins of mine that I could probably call up and at the very least talk about my problems, and they'll sit there and listen. They may not
Right.
understand it, but then on the other hand, right? Like my more closely related family, like they may hear me, but they may not listen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's family's weird. Family's weird that way.
It's yeah.
And going back to kind of what you said about being able to choose your family, you do get to choose your family in a sense. Um, Definitely not your biological family, but
No, but
because you're born into it, you have no choice in that.
yeah, you have the
But
choice of deciding who you let be that close to you, that knows everything about you. You know,
exactly, yeah, and
like I say all the time, like Steven knows me better than I know myself, and that I don't care if that statement's not true. That is always going to be true to me.
sometimes it's kind of scary to think about. I'm sure that there's someone out there. Actually, I know that there's someone out there that knows me better than I know myself.
Yeah, and you know what? For your case, because I'm thinking about it, I want to give like the biggest props ever to your grandma. I love that woman to death, bro. Like
My grandma does a
absolutely,
lot, man.
I absolutely love that woman, dude. Like cherish that woman, and you know how I am with my grandmother.
Yeah.
So like seeing your grandma, I actually I see a lot of my grandma. You know
It's
the
funny
way that
because
she.
right before we started this recording, she called me and she was like, "Oh, I didn't want nothing. Just seeing what you were doing." I was like, "Grandma, I'm about to
She.
record. I need to let me call you back.
Hmm.
You know, I'll call you
She
back
just
after."
that woman just wants to hear your voice, man. She loves you. She loves you that much. I mean, she plays
Definitely, dude.
a huge role in your life, and I can see it.
She definitely does. Yeah.
And I mean,
Growing up, I
and
was definitely a grandma's boy.
yeah, and I mean, like I don't have her number. I don't see her unless I'm with you. But she kind of plays a role in my life because she knows that like when you're home, she'll call and be like, "What are you with Alex?"
Yeah, she will. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
will.
You
Be like,
know,
"Oh, you going over to Alex's?" And
yeah. Like
yeah,
she knows, dude, and like and you know that I definitely I care about that woman because you were you were in the bathroom or something. This is when we cut her grass. You were in the bathroom. She was like, "Well, such and such was supposed to go out there and cut it. She did a little bit and didn't do the rest." And I was like, "Why didn't you just call Steven, tell me, and I'll come and cut it. I don't care." She's like, "You don't have to do that." I'm like, "I'm not gonna charge you either. I'm just gonna do it." Like
yeah,
I told her straight up. I was like, "If I ever drive past and I see it, I'm just gonna come back and do it." I hope you know. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm just gonna do it
yeah,
because it's like, it needs to be done. It's one of those chores that needs to be done. But that's we had that little conversation, and that's why the next day me went up there, and I mean we did way more than what she probably expected. You know,
oh yeah, because it was bad. It
it
was
was
bad
bad.
that day.
It was that backyard was really bad, but
It's like a jungle
you know
back
that
there.
that goes to show that I don't just care about the person that I call my brother. Like I care about his family too. Like mm, there's some people in there that is yeah, but it is what it is. I don't have to
Yeah,
like them. I don't. I just have to coexist.
yeah.
But
I can say the same. Definitely vice versa. If there's ever, and not just with you, especially with you, but not just with you. If ever build a relationship with someone, you don't just care about that one person, right? You care about everyone that came before them,
oh yeah.
or at least you should, right? Otherwise, you have the wrong intentions
Hmm.
because all of those people that are behind them or that were ahead of them made the person that you care about.
Exactly.
They built the person that you care about, whether it be for good or bad.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely um,
And
a big thing.
knowing your grandma's for as much as I do know her, but know her as well as I know her now. I see a lot of her in you, but she played a big role in raising you.
Yeah,
So,
literally, like pretty much all of my teenage years. Well, all of my younger life up until I was probably about 13 or 14, and then I moved in with my mom, and then shortly thereafter, I moved right back. Um, yeah, she ingrained a lot of values in me that
yeah.
I still to this day I carry with me. One of the
Right.
biggest things is like not lying and not stealing.
Yeah.
You know, those are the two big things for me. Because one, I know what it's like to have nothing, and two, I know what it's like to get lied to.
Yeah.
So, and that's one thing she never did. And she sometimes struggled with it because there were certain cases where she would have rather have lied to me to keep me safe, to make me not feel pain. But she still chose to anyway. She was, because ultimately it was like, he deserves to know.
Oh yeah. And I mean the last time we went over there, which was the day before you went back to work,
Hmm.
it I told you when we walked out, dude, it broke my heart to see that woman cry that you were leaving.
Yeah.
And I mean she knows that you're gonna be fine, you're gonna always come back home, but yeah, it kinda hurt me to see that. I was like, dang, like it shows how much that like that healthy relationship that y'all have, you know? To like be
It
in front of
definitely
your
wasn't always like that. It wasn't
to
always as healthy
right.
as it is today. Like, the call in every day, or at the very least
Oh yeah,
a
we all
couple
have our
times a
rough
week.
patches.
When I was
But
younger, she was a big pushover, and I was too young to realize what I was doing. But she would do everything that she could. Her and my grandfather both. Um, she'd do everything that she could to get me whatever I wanted, regardless
and
of
she
what it was.
and she still will to this day.
Yeah, she will, and it's both a good and a bad trait in her.
Hmm.
And in some cases it's unfortunate. In some cases it's more fortunate. But I carried that same trait along with me. The reason being, why it's unfortunate anyway, is because when I care about somebody, I will give as much as I possibly can. Sometimes even more than I can, and that like puts me in jeopardy ultimately. And then, I mean, fortunately, right? It's always a good trait to look out for someone, to help someone in some way,
Oh
somehow.
yeah.
You know.
And I think back to like what I was saying a little bit. I think it really like it hurt me a little bit. I mean, it was like it wasn't like a I don't know. It's weird to explain like how she felt because I don't really know how she felt. But the reason it made me feel like some type of way was to to be that vulnerable in front of your grandson's best friend and like not care what he thinks. And I know she doesn't, but she also knows that you know, that I care about her too. Like that's
Hmm.
in a way that's my grandma too. I'll take care of her if you can't, bro. And I think that's why it kind of made me feel some type of way. It was like she loves you that much that she doesn't care who sees it. She wants it to be known that you know. And that's I mean that's a big thing on like a healthy relationship. Like you said, it wasn't always healthy,
I
but
think
for her to
one
like let out like that and tell you.
I think one thing that my family has always struggled with ever since I was like old enough to remember, and I'm sure probably well beyond that, was communicating how we felt in a healthy way. Um, my family never used words to talk,
Yeah.
and it was hard sometimes because I grew up and I developed a really good skill to be able to talk to people and um, be able to articulate my own thoughts, understand other people's. But coming from a family who doesn't do that and shows their love in different ways,
Hmm.
it's it's very difficult. It's very difficult because you don't know how to read it. You know,
Yeah.
you don't know
Yeah.
exactly what they're trying to say, especially when I'm not saying that I only talk to show affection or to show that I care about someone, but I mean it's definitely more than that. But when all you want to do is have a conversation and no one knows how to talk,
It's a
it's
hard thing to do.
it's hard. It's hard to navigate.
Hmm.
And I've done my best to, going back to what we were talking about, breaking generational curses. I've done my best to not let that happen with my own kids, right? Every time
Yeah.
they were upset, I wanted them to verbally explain to me the best they could what they were
Hmm.
feeling and why.
And I've seen it firsthand for as much as I've seen your children. You know, I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah. And the biggest reason being is because when you can't communicate well, um, you leave people in the dark.
Hmm.
I mean, as simple as that. You leave people in the dark. You can't expect help from someone if they don't know how to help you,
Right.
or at least they're not in the ballpark of how you feel.
Yeah.
Because
And
I
I
mean,
think
there's some family members that I have that literally just hold it all in, and then they
right.
burst because they just refuse to talk
Hmm.
because it makes them feel too vulnerable. And I understand what
And
it feels like to be vulnerable.
I think I think the reason you were talking about them not communicating and showing showing love and affection a different kind of way. I think that's where I see my grandma a lot and your grandma
Hmm.
is. I mean, I've heard it and I've seen your grandma say "I love you" and stuff like that. I hear it on the phone, seen it in person, whatever. But like I think that's where I see my grandma is. My grandma never. I didn't find this out till after she passed, but my grandma was a daddy's girl and was never told, from what I hear, was never told I love you. She was always shown love through gifts, acts of service, or whatever it may be.
Hmm.
Like you want the toy that you want. This is how I'm going to show you that I love you, kind of deal. And I think that's where like I said, that's where I kind of see your grandma and mine, even though I hear her say it. But if you're saying they weren't really communicating, she was finding other ways, and I kind of see it. I kind of see it with your younger sister. Is she'll get your younger sister like whatever she wants,
Yeah.
to an extent, like she wants her to also realize she needs to earn that. It's not just given. But my grandma also did the same thing, and kind of need to earn that, unless it's one of those like necessities, like where you need it. Okay, well let's go get it. But yeah, I think that's where I kind of see my grandma and yours, because she never communicated. She never communicated love. She showed it, but in a different way. It was like, hey, grandma, I want this. Actually, very funny thing, a very prime example, and I'll never forget it. Because growing up, I always watched my brother get a lot from my grandma, which my mom being young when she had my brother, she didn't really know how to be a parent. She wasn't really making the great decisions, and she'll admit that. And that's her battle. But they have a great relationship now, probably better than me and my mom have. But yeah, I always watch my brother getting stuff from my grandma, and the occasional I ask her, she would tell me no, and I just thought it was just because like, oh, you just love my brother more than me. But now I realize just because she just didn't have the money.
Hmm.
But I had Skate 3 on the PS3. Yeah, I'll never forget this. And I wanted the Black Box DLC, which was, if anybody knows any professional skaters, it was Chris Cole's personal skate park. And everything is, they call it the black box because there's a big black box in the middle, and all the ramps are just completely black. And I wanted it. It was like $5. So I was like, Grandma, can you buy me this? And she was like, you want a virtual map on a video game? And I was like, yeah. How much is it? $5. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Go ahead. Go get my card. And that's how she showed love.
Yeah.
And in a way it kind of hurts me to not ever hear her say it, but it's just she never knew how to say it. I think is but she grew up, like I said, she grew up never hearing it. So I think it was just kind of a generational curse,
Hmm.
you know.
I think
And I
it's
think that's
it's funny that you bring that up too because my grandmother was the same. She was a daddy's girl. Um, at least from what she's told me, right? Like her mother had, uh, I don't say she passed away pretty young, but she had gotten sick, and so she was with her dad a lot, and it was only sisters. It was only girls in the family. So I have a bunch of great aunts, and
Hold it down. I gotta pee.
yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, I'll reiterate, but yeah, there was a bunch of sisters in the family, so she even to this day doesn't say "I love you" on the phone first. Right before we hang up, I'll I'll say it, and then she'll say it back to me. She'll be like, "All right, goodbye." I was like, "All right, I love you, bye," and then she'll say, "I love you, bye." And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it explains a lot more of why me and Alex have developed this like this very strong bond with each other because we're so similar in ways that we don't even understand. Like we've gone through. I mean, it's been years, right? It's been years, but there's still parts of him that I don't even know,
Oh yeah.
and we share a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's definitely parts of me that I have never fully shared or maybe fully communicated with him.
I mean, some of it's probably just just things that's never come up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that it's a bad thing that we didn't want to share it or haven't shared it. It's just sometimes it's something that's never came up.
Yeah, it's just stuff that we don't. It's not that we don't necessarily see it as important, but it's just there's like you said, there's certain conversations we just have not talked about,
Yeah.
even after fucking 10 years. You know what I mean? After a decade of our lives, there's certain things that we have still yet to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they be like hard topics, easy topics, whatever. Which is it blows my mind to even think about that right now.
Right.
It's very surprising, honestly.
Right. And I think that was probably what made. I don't know if I've even talked about this on any of the episodes. I think that's what made the very last conversation that I ever got with my grandmother the hardest conversation, and it was a one-sided conversation. It sucks because at that point she was nonverbal. Um, so a little background: when I was like 17, my grandma got diagnosed with breast cancer, and then she would like get better, get worse, get better with worse. Whoever, if anybody's ever dealt with a family member, you kind of know how it is, unless they got that lucky strike where they get it, get rid of it, and it's gone. But yeah, so it would get better, it would get worse, and then it started to spread. It I think it turned into leukemia. Uh, so the last like month probably of her life, she was nonverbal. And my mom was calling me like every day, like your grandma's not that much left. You need to come talk to her. You need to come see her. And I was dodging it. I didn't want to do it because it hurt me to think that that's what was happening. And it probably was also just me being an absolute dickhead and using the excuse of, well, I live across town, I'm always at work. It's That's a stupid excuse. You always have time for family because I mean, look at what I do most days after work. I come in here, I sit down, I play video games. I could have just not done that. Went and seen my grandma. But I finally did, and little did I know that it would be her last day. And I know what this woman was holding on for. My mom didn't quite understand, or maybe she didn't know why. Not that she didn't understand, but it was the year that I was getting married, and that was the only thing. That was the last thing she wanted to do. And so when I went over there and talked to her, again, remember she was nonverbal, so all I was getting from her was just noises and breaths of air. And I think thinking about it now, I think the one thing I really wanted to hear from her at that point was "I love you," and I didn't get to. But I went over there and I seen her. I walked in there, and it was just me and her in there. Like my wife was like, "You want me to go in there with you?" And I was like, "No, I kind of want to. I want her and her only to hear this." But I told her like I don't remember how I started like talking to her, but I was like, I love you. You don't have to fuck. You don't have to hold on. It needs to be said, but you don't have to hold on for my wedding because there's no way you're gonna make it. And I think that's what she wanted to hear, and that's why she was holding on. Because after I left, she had passed away, and I didn't even make it but 5 minutes from my house before my mom called me. Fuck. But yeah, I had to tell her that there was no way you were gonna make it, and I wasn't gonna push her into my wedding in a hospital bed. I just wasn't. As much as I love her and I would have done it, I wasn't gonna do that. I didn't. That's not how I wanted her to be there. And I tried to tell my mom that that was what she was holding on for. And now that I look at it, I've already realized it before this, but after I said all that, and I gave her a hug, and I told her I loved her, I think that was when she took her last breath because I heard her take a very deep breath and let it out. And I just walked out of the room, told my mom that I loved her, and me and my wife left.
That's hard, dude.
It is. I think that was probably the most, like, that I've cried about this situation. Because we've always had it was the same way with my mom, my grandma. It was like the healthy but kind of unhealthy where the arguments were there, but she always took care of me. She bought everything I needed for school because she was just better with money. It wasn't, I didn't really grow up rich. I wasn't really poor, but we made it work. So she was the rock of our family, bro. So I didn't want to have that conversation, but it needed to be said, and I feel like a dickhead for waiting so long. But at the same time, that just shows, and I'm sorry, Grandma, I love you, but that just shows how stubborn she was as a woman, that she held on that long to either hear me say that or to make my wedding.
I think I think you waited the necessary amount of time. Otherwise, it would have went the way that it did because it would have definitely hurt you a lot more had she passed and you not been able to tell her that.
I think whether I went a week earlier or a week later, she probably still would have held on for that.
Yeah.
But I definitely I said what needed to be said, which was like, there's no way that you're making. And what we actually did was we've all lost family members, but we had, as soon as you walked in, we had a memorial table set up for for everybody that that we had lost in our life that meant a lot. There was, pictures. Uh I actually had included my I call him grandpa, but he is my grandpa, but he didn't like that. He didn't like that. He wanted to be called Sonny with his name, which I found out later was not his real name, but that's his name. Anyway, I had his obituary and my grandma's obituary and had both their ashes set up, all with their picture and everything. My wife had her grandma, her grandpa. I actually had put one of my favorite pictures of a really good friend that I lost when he was 25. Uh, I had a picture of him up there. So, so my grandma made it. My grandma made it to my wedding. Whether she was there or not, she made it. So,
She was definitely there. She was definitely there. And dude, just to tell you, man, I know that I know that you deal with a lot of shit personally, shit that you don't like to share even with me. But knowing your grandma, she would be proud as fuck of the changes that you've made. She really
yeah,
would.
she would. She definitely would. I know she would.
She'd probably yell at you a little bit for certain things that you've done, but you know, whose grandmother wouldn't?
She would definitely. There's definitely some things where she would definitely say something. You know. But that's like I said, man. That just shows that she was the rock of our family, dude. She was what held us all together. You know. Even the times where and my grandma would get mad and she would just go quiet, and that was her way of trying to keep the relationship to be a good relationship. She's mad at you, just don't talk to her, just let her be, and she'll get over it, you know. And I think I could probably count on half of one hand how many times I've heard my grandma come, guys, and it's not about that, but she was, she was strong enough to admit when she was wrong sometimes. That was a good thing.
She hated doing it, but she would.
Yeah, but she would do it. And I think that's also part of why it hurt me so much to tell her I'm sorry that you're not going to be able to make a wedding because I know that's what you want, you know. But it was something that had to be said and
Yeah,
needed to be said, you know.
I'm glad that
That's
you
that.
you finally got your head out of your ass and you did it. You know.
If I wouldn't have done it, I would have never done it, and I would regret it. I would regret it to this day, you know. And I mean, sure, there was probably some stuff that I should have said or I could have said, but at the time I knew exactly what she was holding on for. So, and I needed her to know that it's okay to not hold on for that anymore. That I'm not gonna not like her or not love her or be upset or mad or whatever, have any animosity about her not making physically to my wedding.
Hmm.
And a little fun fact, uh my grandma and my wife share the same birth month, so they share the same birthstone. And when I was 17, I had given, at the time, not my wife, but my girlfriend, now my wife, I'd given her a ring that my grandma had, which my grandma was 100% okay with like giving me her jewelry and getting rid of it because she was allergic to nickel and like certain metals. So like it didn't matter if it was real or not. If it had any of those materials in it, it would she would have allergic reaction to it. So she just never wore jewelry. Anything that was like metal. She would wear like plastic jewelry sometimes we'd go out or whatever. But she gave me this ring that had a bunch of her birthstones in it, and I wish I had a picture of it still, but it's been it's been moved around and you've seen it.
Hmm.
Uh, had her birthstones in it, which is again my wife's birthstones, and it was just a bunch of the stones in like the shape of a flower on a ring. And I gave it to my wife, and then this is actually a little bit funny. Uh, I went over there. This is when she wasn't nonverbal or anything. She was up moving around what she can for as sick as she was. I went over there and was like, "Where's your wedding ring? Can I have that? Because yeah, I'm gonna marry this woman." But I didn't even say that to her. I just asked her where her wedding ring was because that I wanted to give it to my wife. And before I could even say I wanted to give it to her, she goes, "Yeah, you can have it because I don't think your brother's going to get married anytime soon. I know you're going to marry that woman." I'm like, "Thanks, Grandma. Thanks. Glad you see that."
She
So
just
like,
needed it.
where's it at? So my wife looked at both the rings, and what I did was for her engagement ring, I took my grandma's diamond from her wedding ring, put it onto a new ring with two of the birthstones on each side of the diamond. And then I don't know how many stones is in the actual wedding band. I think it's four. But the actual like wedding ring itself has like four uh of the birthstones in it. So like there's always a piece of her with my wife everywhere she goes. And it's I mean it's a one of a kind, dude.
Hmm.
It's a very personal. I know this is like very much off topic. I want to talk
No,
about it.
it's not actually, because um, I think this is a good time to say that it's important to know what a generational curse is versus a tradition.
Yeah.
Know what to pass on and what to leave behind, because families are much like families as a whole are much like people as individuals. They grow and they change, and there's parts of ourselves that we need to leave behind, just like there's parts of our family that we need to leave behind.
Hmm.
Typically, just things that our family does that isn't necessarily healthy, or certain habits, stuff like that. It actually, so you hearing you tell me that, I don't think you've ever described it to me. I think you've told it to me once before, but I don't think you ever told it like that.
Not with that much emotion. That's for sure.
No. And it reminds me of the last time I seen my own grandpa. So he, for a long time, uh, for as long as I can remember, was diagnosed with um, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, I believe it was. He had to take insulin shots every day, multiple times a day. And I watched this man in the last, you know, year or so of his life go from like a fairly healthy, like 200 pounds, ish, to being like 95 pounds, soaking wet.
Well, he was also pretty tall, like your height too. So
Yeah, he was. I think I was a little bit taller than him, but yeah, he was about my height. So yeah, like I said, being a healthy, 200 ish pounds, um, and dropping that much weight in like a month while he was in the hospital. And the last time that I had seen him, I didn't want to go see him. I was like you. I didn't. I couldn't. I just couldn't bring myself to remember him in that condition. But I did. I was like, I need to. And at the time, I was 17, 16 or 17. And it was really hard for me to stop making the excuses and to just go do it, at the very least, to just to say goodbye. And then I remember when I got there in the hospital, I don't even remember who was with me. I just remember when I seen him, it was only me and him. And I remember getting there, and I seen just this frame of a person that I once knew, and it was shocking. It was very, very shocking. And me and him, we had a little bit of a conversation. He told me to make sure to always check the oil in my grandma's car because she never did. And
She still doesn't.
she still doesn't. And just 2 days before, I think it was 2 or 3 days before, I cut my hair. And I used to have really long hair. And at the time, I loved having long hair. But I cut my hair, and he just looked at me, and he was like, "You look so much better with short hair." And we said our goodbyes, and I didn't want to accept it, but I knew that that was the last time I was going to see or hear from him. I told him that I loved him, and you know, thankfully in my case, he was able to say it back. And then a week later, I had a dream that he was sitting there with me, and he was just kind of there. He didn't really say a whole lot. I remember him saying it's going to be okay. And then when I woke up, I was like, that was weird. I don't like that. But my buddy had come over and woke me up. He was like, "Hey, come over to my house. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna have a cookout." And so I walked over there, and on the way over there, I told him, I said, "Hey, I think something might happen to my grandpa today." And he was like, "Well, why do you think that?" And I was like, "Well, I just had this weird dream last night." And I told him about the dream. And we're all sitting in his backyard, and his at the time she was his girlfriend, but really good friend of mine and my mom's. She came outside and she had my mom on the phone, and she said, "Steven, your grandpa just passed away." And I looked at his name was Justin. I looked at Justin and I said, "I told you something was gonna happen." And everybody just kind of looked at me like they had just seen a ghost. And like there was nothing anybody could say or do, or like I think in that moment, like I felt so alone because nobody else could relate. And it was so hard for me to like finally come to grips with the fact that he was gone, because like after that happened for months, I mean even years, and there's still sometimes to this day where it kind of rears its head, but like I'll forget that he's gone, and then I'll remember. I'll live life like it's like normal, and then I'll remember like, oh, he's not here anymore, and it just fucks me up. And then I start talking to him, and it sort of makes me feel a little better, because it kind of reminds me of like, hey, he's physically gone, but he's not gone. Like it's like the Book of Life, right? Like if any of you guys have ever seen the Book of Life, you know, as long as your family remembers who you are, you're still alive in some sense. You live sort of vicariously through your family. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why it's important to maintain contact with your family, to at least try to build good relationships with them. Because one, you never know, like, thank you, Cairo. But you never know when the last day is gonna be your last, dude. Like you just don't. And I mean, I was fortunate and I was lucky that I kind of sort of got a heads up in that dream that I had the night before. But even that wasn't enough. It wasn't until years later that I fully processed, his passing. And yeah, I mean,
I think it took me a long time to come to terms with that as well. It's definitely like one of the hardest things is losing somebody that close, you know?
yeah, the thing that gets me is like, or the hardest part about it, right? Is like he used to pick me up from school, and he would bring my skateboard, and he'd be like, "We're going to the skate park," and he would literally sit out there with me. This was like before they remodeled the skate park. This was the old skate park with the wooden half pipe or the shitty wooden one.
Yeah.
But he would sit out there, and he would sit right there at the opening before the small pyramids on that rail that was kind of set back a little bit. And he would sit there in his chair, and he would just watch me skate for hours. I'd sit there for like 5 hours, and he would literally say nothing. I would come
Yep.
up to him every so often, and he'd be like, you doing good? You ready to go? Do you need something to eat? Whatever. And but he never complained about it. He never, not a bad thing went through that man's mind when it came to like us kids.
Yeah.
And that shit
Sonny
still
was this.
sucks, man.
Sonny was the same way with me. Yeah. Once I got older, he would stop going with me. You know, he would just drop me off. But
Yeah.
you know, I'd already hit that age of like 15, 16. It's like, oh,
Yeah, you can look after
you can
yourself.
you can do it yourself. You know, you got friends here. But yeah, he would kind of sit in the same area. He would just stand there though. I'll never forget. He would lean up against the rail and hang his cane on it and just sit there on the other side of the rail, looking out at the skate park, leaned over, not saying a word. Just I would do something, look at him, and biggest smile on his face, dude. Biggest smile on his face. He loved seeing me happy.
It's funny too, because being that young, right? Like, I remember trying to do things that like were definitely way out of my skill level,
Yeah.
and I would do them, and I'd fall, and I'd eat shit, and I'd get back up, and I'd walk back over, and he, like, the only thing that he could say would, well, first are you all right? And if I like scraped my knee or whatever, scuffed up my hands, he'd look at him, he'd be like, all right, go try it again.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids the same thing. Thinking about it, that's one thing that he passed down to me is I'll never, I'll never baby my kids unless they need it.
Right.
But in the moment, like when they're seriously injured, okay, that's different. But if they just fall, and I know that it's like, oh, they scuffed their knee or they stubbed their toe, whatever, they'll live. If I know that they'll live, that's what I'll say. Get up, try it again.
Mhm.
Fuck, man, I haven't talked about him in a long time.
Oh yeah. Sonny did the same thing for me, man. He watched me fall and get back up and do it again. You know. And see, when I was that much younger, I would skate and whatever. But I started skating when I was 3, so I'd be at the skate park a lot once I got older. We'd always go to the same park every day. Drop grandma off at work or my mom off at work. At a certain point they worked at the same job, so we drop them off, go to the park, and actually, if you paid attention in any of the past episodes, it's the same park that me and him had a deep conversation at. Uh, yeah, we'd go there, I'd play on the playground. He just liked to watch the river. I don't know what fascination he had with water, but for a man who couldn't swim, he was very fascinated watching the river. But yeah, he would just let me play on the playground, run around. That's what he wanted to do, you know. Let me do what I wanted to do, and so I mean, it's crazy how like similar our grandparents kind of were to us, you know. And with Sonny not even actually being my real grandfather, you know, a married in grandfather, which is even crazier for the times that they were in the early 2000s stuff. Seeing a old black dude walk around with 2 white babies, you kind of you're kind of like, what the heck, like. But that was Sonny, man. That was my grandpa.
Fuck,
Whatever I
man.
wanted to do, he wanted to do. I was his baby, dude. I couldn't do nothing wrong.
It's Same, dude. Same.
And
Right.
until I did something wrong.
Even when I did, there was only one instance where like I made my grandfather mad enough to I mean like seriously, I've never really been in a physically abusive family, right? Like my family never was that kind of, you know, they never punished me like that.
Yeah.
They never punished any of us like that unless it was warranted, like it was justified. Of course, back in the day, you could use a belt on your kids, and you know, but there was one
Yeah,
instance where I like
I
called him
got
a
hit with it.
bitch or something, and he like chased me out of the house. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. that's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's where I crossed the line, you know.
Yeah, it's crazy because I remember I want to say it was like a Fourth of July party. Uh, that I was young as I was, dude. I was looking at Sonny like, yeah, dude, there's nobody in this world tougher than this man. Like, also this man grew up in a very like not so great childhood, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But loved horses, did everything with horses, man. Like trained them, raced them. He was a jockey for a long time. He actually worked at I'm sure anybody in the states, some people out of the states knows what Churchill Downs is. Cairo, don't say nothing. I know you that place, but he worked there for a long time when he moved up here to the city, and yeah, so he'd been thrown off of horses, had just about every bone broken by a horse from getting thrown off, getting stomped on. He did everything with horses, and he loved it. But I'll never forget. He was putting M80s, those big firecrackers, the big boys. He was putting them in a little can. He was lighting them, putting them in a can, and just holding the can. And it was the craziest thing. But I'll never forget that day. I did something, and it was probably a little unsafe, whatever. My mom got on me about it. And growing up, my mom always got they always called her sissy. Like not like she was a sissy or anything. You know what I'm saying? That's just
Yeah.
what they called her. She was the sister. She's the only girl. So they're calling her sissy all the time. And she started yelling at me. I was in trouble, what have you. And Sonny looked at her and was like, "Sissy, you leave that little boy alone and let him have fun." And my mom was like, "Okay, all right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You got it. You go do what you were doing then." He's like, "That little boy will be all right." And I was all right, whatever I was doing probably wasn't safe, but I was okay.
You're like I'm alive to tell the tales.
So yeah, that's where that I couldn't do nothing wrong in Sonny's eyes comes into play.
Oh, it's
Mm.
all right. We got one more topic on the topic of relationships, right? Oh, that's gonna be a hard.
That's a tough episode.
That's gonna be a hard thing to follow, but
Yeah.
we've gone a lot into family, but intimate relationships, right? We
And
all have them.
before we dive into you know, I just want to say that like if you don't like really learn much or take to heart of much of what we say, at least see, you know, the things we talk about, like, and what they mean to us, and just know that you can like somebody is relating, that somebody else goes through it too. You're not alone.
Yeah,
And
you're not
it's
as alone as you might think in this world.
yeah, and it's okay to get knocked down. It
Hey,
happens.
get up and do it again.
Get up and do it again. Get up and do it again.
Just do it differently.
Yeah.
Learn from what you learn from what you did, whether it be
Right.
good or bad. You can learn good things from good experiences too. So,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, back to the new topics. I had to let that be known just because, there's probably people out there that's just hearing us and not listening. You know.